Is that what universities are asking for? Are they asking for autonomy so they can generate their own funds and be their own, persons? I mean, one would think that they're still going to be needing the federal government's subvention.
Yes.
In spite of the fact that they are autonomous.
Yes, I agree. But you see, when you talk about autonomy, it cuts across many things, not just funding themselves. Because this funding again is not just about paying salaries. You're talking about research here. Funding even for research. You're talking about funding for the institutions themselves. In terms of equipment, in terms of updated knowledge. I mean, so the funding for university cuts across many fronts. What I'm saying really is the fact that at least when you have that autonomy, and if we even stick on the part of, okay, they raise the fees, people can't pay the fees, what then happens is that's when the bursary and the scholarship boards kick in.
Now you're going there. Let's go back. Let's talk about the education sector. Now, let's focus properly on the education sector. Now we understand what ASU is saying.
Yeah.
Perhaps we should also be looking towards youth empowerment now. Sometimes when they come out of schools, what kind of graduates do we have in our country? Because leaving autonomy out of it, so far, how have we fared in terms of skills acquisition, vocational training? The last time you were here, we also talked about these and so many other issues. So let's go back to that and see the kinds of people we're turning out from these universities.
Well, you can't separate the output from the process of the input. So if all these issues that are being canvassed right now are really not dealt with, the output is not going to change. On Sunday, I was a guest of Jimmy Disu on his discourse on the radio, and we had another guest, James, who is an auto mechanic entrepreneur, and he was talking about he had an undergraduate student of mechanical engineering of Unilag. This is 2012, so 2012, just last year. He had an undergraduate student of mechanical engineering Unilag doing IT with him, and he took him out on one of his field jobs, and he started explaining to him to do something because he was trying to repair one of the high-end exotic cars, and his client observed from the face of the student. He now said, "Is this your new employee?" He said, "No, he's actually a student of Unilag, he's on IT." He said, "I don't think he understands what you're saying." And then he asked him, and after which the guy then leveled and said, "Sir, I didn't understand what you're saying because we're still being taught with carburetors." I mean, carburetors in 2012. I mean, when all the cars right now, an injector and are all sensors. So, and that is Unilag again, not just any one of the remote universities. So the point really is the quality of output cannot improve until we'll really deal with the issues that, I mean, universities are supposed to be research and development institutions. I said that the last time I was here. How many of them really do researches now? How many of them, really embark on, okay, this is a societal problem, we want to look into a homegrown solution and things like that? They will tell you they don't have the funding.
But a host of people would tell you that
Yes.
autonomy does not guarantee accountability. As it stands, a host of people have said that they cannot see how the universities have spent their money and what exactly they have spent it on. So sometimes it's also a case of accountability.
Yeah.
How are we so sure that when this autonomy is granted and you're able to generate your funds, accountability will improve?
Well, I think accountability is a problem the whole Nigeria has a problem with. I mean, we have a problem with accountability. So you're very right, whether it's autonomy or controlled, accountability is an issue. And I don't understand why any university receiving funds, whether it's from EFT, the Education ETF, Education Trust Fund, or from any arm of government, should not be able to, at periodic times, provide reports.
Is that why the student you talked about couldn't function well with the trend?
I mean, well, that's part of it. If the university says we don't have the fund to upgrade our laboratories or our workshops.
How important is vocational training in our universities?
Well, vocational training really is not the remit of universities. That's again another aspect of our education system. What has happened in Nigeria, like I said the last time I was here, is the fact that everybody, the society makes you feel that if you do not go to universities, that you are no good. And I think that only happens in this part of the world. So when we begin to redress that, you actually then find that you have a lesser number of people going into the universities. Reason is, after the show on the radio show, I got a lot of calls, and there were parents who called and said, "Listen, I've actually realized that my son is not one with academic prowess. I think it's very good with his hands, and if I really know of any good technical college, I would rather want to put him there and let him go on that line."
Do we still have technical colleges?
We have technical colleges, but you see, when you look at education as a whole, that's also part of the problem, because the technical college, the technical college unions, if they have it too, could also go on strike and say, okay, we've been neglected as well. We do have technical colleges, but again, the issue with our technical colleges is outdated curriculum. The issue with our technical colleges is dilapidated equipment, and again, all this issue of function of neglect. Because again, you have the issue, besides equipment and all of this, you also have the issue of even the instructors themselves. How up to date are they?
What's the guarantee that some of them, because I also remember the few technical colleges I've seen in some states,
Yeah.
they had just one. Do they get engaged? Because some of those who were into carpentry, plumbing, and even some engineering works were actually a product from some of these colleges.
Oh, yes.
Not to talk of polytechnics at the end of the day. But the guarantee there of you getting engaged at the end of it, maybe by government or corporate organizations, is something that we should also look into. Do we still have people that can guarantee these people, when they come out of such schools, a good job?
Yes. You see, your output is what determines what you get in terms of a good job. The reality on ground is there is a huge demand for sound, technical, skilled people. There is a huge demand. But our supply is what has the problem. We have a lot of people churning out of, whether it's technical college, whether it's polytechnic, whether it's universities, but they are not fit for purpose. And so what happens? The man who is out there in the job market, I always say to people, anyone who's in private sector, anyone who's in an industry, your bottom line is profit. And your profit is driven by what? Productivity. And your productivity is a function of what? Skills. So if I interview 100 Nigerian graduates before I can find one that is good, understanding the fact that even the time I've spent interviewing that 100 is wasted time, what do? I bypass them and then go for Nigerians in diaspora, at least where I'm sure that the quality of the output, it will not be in doubt. Or I go totally even for the foreigners that in many cases actually turn out to be cheaper. So that's what we have. We have opportunities here. There are jobs out there. Take any business day, on any of their job days. You would amaze you the number of pages, for placements, for specialized jobs. But at the same time, we have tons and hundreds and thousands of unemployed graduates, and more so unemployable graduates. So I think the issue really is we've got to come back and say, and that's where the push from the ASU people is coming from. The government do not seem to understand that education is the bedrock of development.
No, they say that all of the time, so why would you say they don't understand?
Well, because if we do, number one, like I said, we would even avoid a total showdown. We would avoid it. I mean, we would definitely avoid it, so that's one. But again, in understanding it means that you are going to now decompose the entire educational system and say to ourselves, there is no point continuing with the status quo, where graduates are coming out. Do you know how many graduates cannot even write? They can't even write their CVs, talk less of writing a thesis for you.